We have a Hall of Famer coming on the show today.
Yep.
Your boy from your team, from the Atlanta Braves.
Well, actually, and he also pitched for the guy that's a fan of the show. Well, Mark, he's a Mets guy. He pitched for the Mets too.
Really?
So Braves and the Mets, yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody.
There it is.
Oh,
I needed that.
Did I wake you up?
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, normally I drink like a water or something, but I needed a little pick me up today, so I had to bring in a.
Do you notice anything
caffeine.
different today, Jeff?
I'm wearing a white shirt.
Oh, and I'm wearing a black. I've been wearing black the whole time.
Yeah, you have. Well, it's slimming.
Well, yeah, exactly. No, the real thing that's different. Can you tell real quick? If you can, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I don't know.
I match you on my head. I'm bald.
Oh yeah, you are. Holy crap! I just noticed that now.
Yeah, it was by accident though.
Uh-oh.
But you remember when I used to do this when we were,
Yeah.
when we were kids and
Yeah.
we had the apartment out in
When we lived in
Lake Worth.
Lake Worth, yeah.
Yeah. So I used to big it years ago, and all of a sudden the other night I was trying to get away the gray hairs, and
That's why I shave it already, bro.
because I like to multitask, I went to go answer my phone without shutting the razor off, and went whoop.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, a nice little bald spot.
Oh.
So I had, so I ended up going
Bald.
to town on my
Yeah.
head.
Did
and-
you cry a little bit or no?
No, well, at first I was like, "Wow,
Yeah.
tomato head," like your dad used
Yeah.
to call me.
Yeah. I remember when I first started trying to grow a beard and I was living with you. And I went to do the same thing, and I think the phone rang or something, and I jerked the razor at the same time, and it went up, and I had to. Oh, I know the feeling. It sucks, man. Oh my god.
So the funny part about it is not so much how I did it,
Mhm.
was I know how upset my wife was going to be, and I went and put on a hat, and
So
we're walking around the house, and I never wear hats
Yeah.
anymore. I haven't worn a hat in a long time.
Yeah.
And I got away with it for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And because I was looking, it was cold that night. So I was looking for a ski cap because normally I don't wear the hats.
This was Monday or Tuesday or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was freezing out. And we did the fire outside.
The wood. Yeah.
Oh,
Paul
yeah.
Bunyan
I
over
got
there.
Paul.
Yeah.
Chopping wood over there. Anybody see that on Facebook or Instagram?
That was
My
classic.
wife catching me in a tracksuit, looking like I just stepped off Queens Boulevard.
I can't remember who the one that said it, and they even said he's like, "Aren't you Italian?" And
Yeah.
I said, "Well, hence the tracksuit." Yeah, I kind of gave it away.
Yeah. So but yeah, so I'm bald.
Bald. Well,
It'll grow back, I think. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it
At
is.
46 years old, do you think it's going to grow back?
yeah. Your gene pool says yes. Trust me. Mine not
Well,
so
no, my
much.
father's bald. My uncle's bald.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you get it from your mom's side.
Maybe.
Yeah, because you've always had thick hair.
But I got the receding hairline. I've always had that,
Yeah. Well,
which
who
is
you
a
telling?
Terrano trait.
Yeah, who are you talking to there?
Well, other than my hair,
Yeah.
we have an exciting show today. I mean,
Big
it's
show.
a Hall of Famer show.
Hall of Fame show.
I mean, you can't get any, no pun intended. We have a Hall of Famer coming on the show today.
Yep.
Your boy from your
guy.
team, from the Atlanta Braves.
Well, actually, and he also pitched for the guy that he is a fan of the show. Well, Mark, he's a Mets guy. He pitched for the Mets too.
Really?
So Braves and the Mets. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's,
I got to give the guy credit.
what's his name? John Rocker?
No,
Oh.
God. Jesus.
He would never play in New York, right?
No, they shot him in New York. Oh my God. I remember watching games where they're throwing batteries at him when he was running on Shea Stadium, and they're just heaving batteries at
Do you
him.
remember they made it battery night that night or something?
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah. He was a nut job, man. Hey, he was a hell of a closer. I'll give him that until he opened his mouth. That
Yeah.
was when the career was over.
John
But yeah.
Rocker was a weird duck.
He was crazy, man. God. But yeah,
We
got
should
a big
ask
show.
Tom about how it was playing with him.
Yeah. Especially during that time.
It's
Man,
Tom
the
Glavine
90s.
we're having
Yeah,
on
we're
the
having
show,
Tom Glavine
Okay.
on, by the way, folks.
Ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen, we are having 2014
Mhm.
Hall of Famer inductee Tom Glavine on the show today. You got to tune in for this. If you're
Mhm.
listening somewhere out there on our Facebook, tell some friends. If you're a former Braves fan or a Braves fan currently, whatever, if you became a Braves fan or were a Braves fan and then became a Marlins fan or whatever you decided to do. But I mean, the one thing I loved about Tom Glavine and what I loved about his game compared to today is he pitched.
Yeah.
Didn't pitch for the radar gun. Didn't pitch for the analytics.
Nope.
Man could hit spots. Man could throw it. Man could get guys out.
Yeah.
That's baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, and he could hit, believe it or not. So, I mean, hey, chicks dig the long ball. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and it's
he did that commercial.
I'm late, so that's why I didn't get to bring the ball in. But yes, I do have an autographed ball from him that says, "To Jeff, chicks dig the long ball, Tom Glavine."
Yeah, you told me you did that.
I have that at the house, and like I said, I was running late, so I didn't grab it.
How did you become friends with him? Yeah, I don't think you ever told me that story.
Honestly, you guys are all going to laugh, and everybody laughs at me because when I say this famous word,
I laugh at you all the time.
Twitter. That's how I became friends with him. So he made a comment on Twitter, and then I, at the time, was doing worked for a radio station in down in Pompano. I worked for 640 Sports, and I asked him to come on because at the time they had some stuff going on with the Marlins, and baseball was kind of kicking on and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, you know what the hell? Let's have him come on. And he was an incredible interview. And then a year later, he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I haven't spoke to him directly over, I texted him congratulations that day. But otherwise, I mean, with baseball players that are Hall of Famers and even just professionals, man, it's like, you don't want to just keep annoying the crap out of them. They have lives too. So, I would text him every now and then. But yeah, he was awesome. It was a very quick text back to me when I asked him to come on, and he's like, absolutely, what day and time. So I mean, there was no hesitation.
That's
just
awesome.
A stand-up dude, man. Yeah, stand-up guy.
Well, look, again, like I said, if I had to say some of my favorite guys of that era, he's definitely one of them. No, don't question about it. And we battled in the playoffs and the World Series.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, in the World Series. I said playoffs.
World Series.
We battled in the World Series. Who won that game?
All right. So who's the other guest we have?
I told you, man, I'm a fan of everybody now, but that was a great series.
It was a good series.
It was a very good series.
Yeah, the Braves went up 2-0, and then we lost the next 4.
So. You know where I watched that series? This is throwback, man. Carrabba's.
Oh my God. I hadn't thought about that restaurant.
I was dating some girl. She meant a lot to me. Don't even remember her name. And and I was hanging out with, remember Jason Vidal? Yeah. So Jason Vidal worked there. He worked in the kitchen, and him and I were DJing at that time in Majors. Mm-hmm. And I started dating this girl that worked there, and that was it. I was watching the series. Who watches the series at an Italian restaurant? Carrabba's.
Well, you're Italian.
Well, no, I am, but normally you go to a sports bar. The Ale House was right up the road. I think Brews Room at that point might have been open.
I think actually Carrabba's had just started popping around that time.
Yeah,
they're the big. That was the big deal. Then
the best part about Carrabba's, again, I'm Italian, as Jeff said, and I love my Italian food more than anything else in this world. And the best one I'm going to give a plug to right now is Fiorella's in Lake Worth. Yeah, she is the best. Love her. She's a great person. I mean, I called yesterday to ask her for Christmas Day food because we're going to have the family over.
Yeah, and
she showed me a picture of her window and said, "My husband will kill me, but I'll sneak yours in," because they literally had, like, I'm not kidding, probably 150 tickets for takeout for prepared food for that. So it is one of the best. But Carrabba's was great because they had that bread dip with the oil and the seasonings that they used to bring to the table.
Yeah. That was really before anybody was doing that. I mean, you had your normal.
Well, you had Olive Garden, which is like McDonald's.
Yeah. What was the joint we used to go to?
Mamma Mia's?
Yeah. Was that what it was over there?
Renzo's.
Renzo's.
Yeah. Renzo's was good, man.
Oh, man. That was leather jacket night over there.
Oh, yeah. Was great. Yeah. Well, we broke out the Puma track gear, the velour and went out.
That was fun times.
With the big old boombox, and remember that? I was driving my IROC Z with the Italian tassel and the horn. You know what I mean? Well, best license plate I've ever seen.
Which one?
Yeah, I hope he's watching right now.
Who?
Best license plate I have ever seen was on a friend of mine's car.
What was it?
I'm Italian, meet my balls. Best. That is the best. Paul Pitty. Only a Pitty would have that,
I was
right?
gonna say, it had to have been a Pitty.
Paul
person right
Pitty
there.
had it on it. Of course, he had it on his IROC.
Yeah, naturally.
White. I think it was a white, if I remember correctly, or red. I can't remember. But yep, I'm Italian, meet my balls.
Good God.
He used to ride around town like that. And that guy's a cop now.
Yeah, he's a cop. Yeah.
But yeah, no, Fiorello, shout out to her, and shout out to Carrabba's and the Yankees winning the World Series back then while I was watching it at an Italian restaurant.
Yep.
That I don't normally go to.
Yep. All right, so we got Tom on.
We got Tom.
And then we've got
We're close.
the gentleman that just
work for close
talked to
to
a second
our
ago.
guy that's coming up first at bat to
Yeah.
the show. First at bat. I like doing that on the
yeah.
social media, like
Catchy.
out there. You catchy.
catchy.
First up, on deck, but she can't use on deck for well, I guess you can because of the National League, but
Yeah.
now it's everybody's DHing. So
Well,
on deck or coming in the first inning and the bottom half of the first is going to be.
I like that.
Yeah, like that. Huh?
Yeah, I like that. Stay with that.
Coming in with the bottom half.
So I know he can. I believe he can listen and he can hear what we're saying. So it's a good way for me to kind of get something going with him as well when Mark comes on. So they're changing rules in 2024, folks. So we've already had the pitch clock before,
Yeah.
which again I was really against when it first started. Now I'm like 100% for it because I get the idea. I mean, baseball as kids, it's always been a 4.5 hour day.
Yep.
You're wasting time watching it. Nobody likes it. I did, but whatever. And then they changed it. Now they're going to change it from 20 seconds to 18 seconds.
Not enough time.
That I think it's going to be, you're hurting pitching in my book. But
Well,
because that's fast. I mean, you already have people struggling trying to get to 20.
that's
so,
a whole different topic for another day. But I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to be more injuries.
yeah.
You got to speed up your arm. You got to speed up your mechanics. You
Yeah.
speed up.
It's
they
not
don't
gonna
under,
work.
I don't.
But anyway, so now you have
Don't get me started.
mound visits are reduced from 5 to 4.
I'm all right with that.
I'm fine with that. The runner's lane is widened to include the dirt between the foul line and the infield grass.
Say that one more time.
The runner's lane
Yeah.
is now being widened to include dirt between the foul line and the infield grass.
What about turf fields? Good question, right?
That's a great question.
Go ahead.
Pitcher who is sent out to warm up for an inning must face at least one batter.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing
I'm
that
on-
anyway.
I 100% like that. And I'll tell you why I like the 4 visits.
Yeah.
Because when a guy's rolling, don't stop. Leave him
Yeah,
alone.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's cardinal rule number 1, in my opinion, of a pitcher.
Yeah.
Right? And again, another great question. Did he want Bobby Cox coming out there and stopping him to talk to him, or who was the pitching coach back then?
Oh,
Good
God.
question, huh?
Why would you ask me that right now?
Sorry.
It was, yeah, keep going.
Anyways,
Leo
well,
Mazzoni.
wow, that's my. See, that's why we're on the show together.
Yes.
At Diamond Deals, I love it.
Yes. Took me a second.
No, that's
but I
awesome.
got it.
But yeah, so ask him if he wanted Leo Mazzoni to come out here and while he's grooving in the middle of a game
Yeah,
6,
just stop.
and stop him.
No.
You know why they wouldn't do that? Because there was no analytics back then.
Yeah, again, and that's
We're not
why,
going matchup for this one because this guy he won't hit a 2,300 spin rate.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah, and that's why I bring that question up to a lot of
Let the guy
people.
roll.
Like when we had John Updike on last week, and I asked him about, the analytics of the whole thing. Now, did it change the game for the better or the worse? It's like he made a good comment. It changed the game, and it's better for scouts, but it doesn't really do much for the player. I mean, they're just out there to do their job, and that's it. At the end of the day, they can go back and look and see. But I mean, back in the 90s, they didn't have that crap. You had to actually be a baseball player that knew what the hell you were doing.
Pitch.
Yeah.
You had to go up there with an approach, with your mechanics,
Yeah.
with your understanding of what the tendencies of that hitter was doing,
Yeah.
where he liked it, where his hot zone was. Remember the hot zone they used to talk
yeah.
about?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on, man. The game of baseball is so great without having to try to modify it.
Yeah. Just leave it alone, man.
The game, it was fine. Why did we have to mess with it? So what do they say? If it's not broke, don't try to fix it.
That's right.
Come on, man.
That's it.
Well, I think we're ready for our first guest, Jeff. I don't think I've ever told you this, but I actually represented this gentleman.
Really?
Yeah, I
didn't know
represented Mark. Quick story before we bring him in, and we're going to bring him in just a second, is I saw his stuff somehow, some way. Somebody told me about him. He was interested in interviewing one of my players,
Mhm.
which was Jabari Blash at the time.
Mhm.
Okay. And he had this whole big thing going with the MLB show and hitting with Jabari and doing all this stuff. And somebody told me to go watch this kid. And I was like, okay, I watched. And YouTube was, just starting out. Not starting out, but it was getting big.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this kid's pretty good. I liked him. So I contacted him and I got into a situation where he wanted to meet Jabari. And I'm going to let him tell the rest of the story. But ladies and gentlemen, everybody watching us on Facebook Live right now, shout out to Joe Zupo, shout out to Kelly Fry, shout out to my wife, shout out to Kyle. Look, we thank you all for joining us every week. Facebook Live. We are proud to bring in our first guest up to the plate. First guy up to the plate for the show.
Leading off
in the top of the first is none other than Marc Luino, who goes by Giraffe Neck Mark. Mark, welcome to the show.
How are you guys? Thanks for having me on. How we doing?
Doing great. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Excited to talk some ball with you guys. I got to hear a little bit of the show while I was waiting in the backstage, so I know we got a lot to talk about.
Well, you know what? I'm going to ask you this, Mark. Obviously, we go way back now. We know each other a long time. Had an opportunity to represent you, and it's cool that we're still. I let everybody know I don't represent him anymore, but he's a good friend, and we stayed friends, and we bounce ideas off of each other and all kinds of different baseball stuff. Why? Because he's a baseball guy, and I like talking to baseball people.
You do.
I like talking to everybody, but what did you think of the opening segment? How do we sound? Because you're the pro at this.
Listen, I love the setup. I think the podcast studio looks really, really clean. I mean, is that a Braves backdrop behind you right now? That would be the only thing I'd have to comment as a Mets fan. It's
actually
easy.
I think it's a Mets one. Just
is it really?
It's not snowing that day.
Yeah, it was a little bit warmer that day. The sun was out, but yeah, I mean, you guys sound great. It looks really clean. Like, good job. Nice setup. I like it a lot.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
It's
Mike.
That's all Mike.
Mike got us some wireless headsets today, and we're rolling here. We're hiding wires, and we're looking clean and professional. And I gave him a bat from last week from one of our guests from Deshaun Knowles.
Yep.
So Mark, we'll start off with, first off, again, thank you for joining us, and congratulations on all your success, man. I've always told you that. I've admired your work from day one, from the first time I ever saw you. But kind of give us a little bit of insight of how Giraffe Neck Mark kind of came about and where things started for you.
Yeah, so I'd always been interested in making YouTube videos. I messed around in high school making videos about, go figure, FIFA, the video game. Not a huge soccer fan, but I loved the video game at the time. And that kind of got me into understanding video editing, being comfortable in front of a camera and talking in front of a camera. And then when I went to college, I could no longer play baseball. I wasn't going to play for the University of South Carolina. And I still needed a way to be inside a baseball community, because while my friends liked baseball, they weren't really like in depth. They couldn't talk to you about the nitty gritty of the 162 game grind. So I was like, how can I find a community of baseball fans that I can still interact with? Right. And I found it through MLB The Show. So started uploading those videos, playing the video game, people watching me react and lose and get mad and punch my chair and all that. And it did really well. And the hopes was to always be able to build a community where I could eventually turn it into what I'm doing now, which is just straight up talking about Major League Baseball every single day.
That's awesome. That's a great.
So I don't know how old you are, Mark, and you don't have to say a word about that, but I will tell you, I'm 44, going to be 45. And I still play MLB The Show, and I still punch the chair, and I still throw the controller. And I think
that's because his kid beats him.
We'd have to broadcast that guy, but I'm just saying, like
Jackson whoops your butt.
God, dude. But it's funny because like he walks out, and then it's times where, and he's 10, by the way, and he'll walk out, and I'm like doing like the new ones, like you have like challenges you can do. You can win cards or whatever the crap is, and I'm that guy. Like, I don't play Grand Theft Auto online. I do the stupid stories. I don't do FIFA like against people. I do the challenges. That's just me.
You do that?
Yeah, I do that.
Wow, the best part about Grand Theft Auto was going around and blowing stuff up.
I know, but I didn't want to do it. But I played the other night, and it was actually a Roberto Clemente card that they had. I'm not going to forget it. And I get all the way to the end, and I freaking hits a grounder, and I lose. The controller goes flying, and I can't say what I yelled out. And Jackson's face was, Like, it's a game, Dad. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but I came far, man. I came far.
Know it well. I've thrown my fair share of controllers. There's some videos on my YouTube channel. If you go deep into it, you can find a couple bad reactions from me as a angry 18, 19-year-old.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that's like your 15th chair you're sitting in right now.
Yeah, I mean, I buy the same chair every single time, but it is definitely not the first chair.
Yeah.
He's blaming the manufacturer. This thing doesn't hold up when I throw it out the window of my 30-story apartment in Queens, New York. Why didn't it land and stay intact?
Now, how long have you been doing the YouTube broadcast that you do?
So I've been doing it full time for 5 years now, but I've been making YouTube videos for probably like 7, 8 years, but full time 5 years.
Okay. And I like I said, and I hate to sound like a hermit, but I didn't really know much about you until Phil said something. And so I went on and looked you up. And yeah, I stalked you. It's good. But that's when I realized that you were a Mets fan. And I'm like, oh,
Yes.
crap. I'm a Braves fan. This is a Mets fan. Like, we don't like each other.
And we're having on Tom Glavine.
And I'm having Tom
Yeah,
Glavine
really.
on played for freaking both teams. So like, I'm like, all right, well, at least I cover both grounds on that. But so I remember, and like I said, I don't want to know how old you are, but I'm a lot older than you, I'm assuming. And
27.
Oh my God, yeah.
He's not a woman. You can ask him his age.
I know, but you just don't do that on. You don't want people.
I'm
to,
comfortable.
all right, that's fine.
I was going to say, he looks like he's 12.
But I remember, like, I grew up with like the '80s, Mets when you had the Strawberries and your Doc Goodens and Keith Hernandez and Lenny Dykstra, I think, was on that team.
Oh,
And
yes, love
I mean, it was like you grew up with that, and you grew up as a Braves fan. You're supposed to hate him, but yet I liked Doc Gooden a lot as a pitcher, and I thought Lenny Dykstra with a mouthful of chew was just freaking awesome because all you had was stains all over his shirt because he's spitting it all over himself. And I'm like,
Pine
now
tar.
but to me that was baseball. You know what I'm saying? Like as a kid, that was baseball, and like I still do it when I walk out to my car. I'll spit on the ground because it's baseball. That's what I did, and that's what I grew up watching. And like with the Braves, like, I mean, as you probably have done your research on, the Braves sucked in the 80s, man. Like we couldn't win friggin' 10 games.
Well, that's why he was happy when he came.
Exactly. But it was one of those where I think that's where I'm kind of leading into now is you got both teams now are kind of very similar in so many ways. I thought the Mets had a bad season this year only because of due to some injuries. But they're touted to be right up there with the Braves again and the Phillies. It's turned into a hot division. So what's your look on Mets this season coming in?
Yeah, I mean, they desperately need pitching, and I don't think that's like any surprise to anyone. They have Kodai Senga, Luis Severino, and Jose Quintana coming into the season as their main starters. That's just not a major league rotation, especially you need some more depth. I think they just trade for Adrian Hauser. But if we get Yamamoto, I think the Mets get aggressive and they start making more moves. But if not, you probably see them take a step back, maybe try to reset the luxury tax threshold a little bit here so that they can spend maybe in 2025 if Phil's Yankees don't give Soto that big contract that he's looking for. But I mean, like I'm trying to kind of temper my expectations a little bit because I'm kind of known of someone who picks the Mets to win the World Series every year. And as we know, that has not happened in my lifetime. So
sounds like the Dolphin fans.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be doing that this year. But yeah, I'm hoping we get Yamamoto because last year was like so not fun as a Mets fan, especially like with the tease of 2022 where like everything went well, got knocked out early, which was disappointing, but felt so good coming into the season. And to have it just go so poorly pretty much from the start was so deflating. I just don't want to do that again.
Well, you had the starting pitcher. Was it short? What's his name? Max?
Yep, Scherzer.
Didn't he get hurt like in like the first month of?
Yeah, Scherzer couldn't make like a consistent start. He made a start, got hurt, did the sticky stuff suspension, came back, got hurt. It was just like back and forth. And Verlander was there too, and he started off the year hurt. So it was like everything started slow, and then by the time they all got together, it was just a little bit too late for them to do anything. And I mean, credit to them trading off their guys and getting prospects and not compounding the problem. But now we're in an issue where we have no pitching.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, because I watched your video. I think you had because I've been following the one guy because I want to see where he goes, and you had your 10 players of free agencies of where they were going to go, and you actually did predict Ohtani to go to the Dodgers, where I did not. I actually, and Phil will tell you, I had him probably going to the Yankees because of the money, and he actually had him going someplace else, and then you had him going there. I'm like, holy crap, man, we're way all over the place. Where does Cody Bellinger go? I think you had him going to the Yankees on your actual chat there. But
yes, yeah, I had him go to the. No, I don't feel the same. Their outfield's a little bit crowded now. And I mean, he's better than Alex Verdugo. Like, you would take Cody Bellinger over him, but it just doesn't really make sense now to spend that money. I thought it was going to be the Giants, and then they got Jung-Woo Lee. I think it's going to be the Blue Jays now. It seems like they just need a center fielder.
Yeah.
Could use just a more athletic player out there rather than trying to use George Springer in center field. And I know that his wife posted on Instagram that they were in Terrano like a week ago. So I'm assuming that they're probably in some sort of negotiation out there.
Yeah, that's kind of where I had him as well. Because like I said, I watched your video, and then I'm that geek like on draft day where you have like your paper and all the players, and I have my predictions and all that stuff. And I had him after the Yankees signed Soto. I was like, no, he's going to go Blue Jays because of Ohtani going to the Dodgers. Ohtani was favored to go to the Blue Jays for how long, and then that fell through. So, yeah, I just wanted to see where your take was now that everything's changed. I think that video is a week and a half ago, I think it was.
Yeah, it's not too old, and things change so quickly, as we know with baseball.
Man. Yeah. So, Mark, tell us a little bit also about the MLB Network. I know you got a lot of time and a lot of opportunities to appear on the network and everything else. So, how did that kind of all come about? You know, again, I follow you all the time, and not. I'm not blowing smoke up here, but you've done a great job. I mean, you've done a lot of stuff that most people wished and dreamed. I mean, I tell my kids all the time because of you, hey man, go on YouTube, like, and start doing some crazy stuff.
No, always, definitely.
So, Dylan loves you. Dominic loves you.
What's up, Dominic?
My wife loves you. We all love you over here at the Terrano household. So, but just tell us a little bit about the MLB Network. That was pretty cool. I saw.
Yeah, so YouTube partnered with Major League Baseball to do a YouTube Game of the Week for a couple years ago now, and they started highlighting content creators. So for the first content creator of the week that they wanted to put a spotlight on, I was lucky enough to be that guy, and basically just had me on before the game, allowing me to talk in front of the MLB Network audience and just explain what I do. What I thought about the games, asked me some questions about, players and rumors and kind of stuff like that. And really cool experience. And then being able to go to the network, because I do the podcast with the Mets, we had an opportunity to go interview Cliff Floyd, Harold Reynolds, Mark DeRosa at the studio, and just walking around there and seeing how everything works from the back end, going at Studio 42 and playing in wiffle ball on that little field that they have, like just an absolutely amazing it's so cool. It was so much fun. We did a home run derby. Obviously I won, much better baseball player than my podcast host. That's the only time I'll talk trash. But yeah, it was just such a fun experience, and being able to do stuff like that, like you said, is a lot of people would dream of doing something.
Yeah. No, I mean, first off, I'll admit I've never been to that studio. I know Harold and all those guys over there too, but I've never been invited. So that's an open invitation for if anybody wants to invite me. But what I thought was cool is that, all these things that you and I kind of talked about, you really followed your dreams and did everything you wanted to do, and kind of, I'm gonna put something out there. I don't want to make him blush or feel weird at the same time. I want him to understand that how hard it is sometimes for an agent to be friends with somebody that actually says, hey man, I don't want to use you anymore. But I really respected everything he's done, and he did it in a very loyal way when he called me and said, hey man, I think I'm just gonna kind of do some different things. He was respectful. You don't see that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about Mark. Mark is a good, respectful person. He's not a kid anymore. He's a man. But, I appreciated that. So, again, I follow you. I respect you. We all respect you. And I'm proud of what you're doing. But continue to keep telling us how everything is going in your career. I mean, is this something you're really going to take even further?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, thank you for the kind words. Appreciate it. This is the best job in the world. Like, outside of actually playing baseball, this is probably the only other thing I'd really want to do. Like, when I was in college, I was like, man, I have to get like a job. Like, this sucks. Yeah. And then luckily the YouTube channel took off as I was graduating, and I haven't looked back since. So just working harder, trying to make more content, trying to expand the content as well. Like, I love baseball. I want to obviously focus mainly on that, but maybe try to go to more games and do more vlog type content. Like, I did 3 games in 24 hours back in 2022. And that was an incredible experience. The video did well. So trying to expand my horizon, expand my reach a little bit by not necessarily being as in depth all the time, talking about stats and numbers and players, and maybe more so like the baseball experience or baseball culture as well.
No, that's awesome. I got to tell you also, Jeff, I had an opportunity to tour around with him during spring training one time.
Mm-hmm.
And man, everybody came up to him. I'm not kidding.
Oh, wow, nice.
We had to stop every 2 seconds to take a picture. I'm like, man, I got to get over here. I got other clients. I love you, but we got to roll. Like, come on. We're there to see Ruben Tejada.
Yeah.
Remember when we went to the Yankee? And, Ruben was a client of mine.
Yeah.
Got to introduce him. Obviously, he's a Met fan. Hello, Ruben Tejada, Met fan.
Oh, yeah.
Man. But, at that time, like, his stuff blew up all over the air. Everybody knew him. The kids came up to him. Like I said, Dylan and all of them were watching him. And it was amazing to watch how these kids knew who he was, the content that he puts out and everything. I mean, he had his own little fan base. He was giving out autographs more than freaking Guerrero was that year. Remember how bad he looked in that uniform that year, remember?
Yeah, that was when he was a little bit chubbier, Vlad. Luckily, I think he hit the weight room a little bit and slimmed down with some.
Well, you know what Ruben used to tell me? His mom used to bring in the food into the clubhouse.
It's got to be great food too.
Bro, the Dominican food and the rice and the beans, I think she made everybody fat on that team that year. It was unreal. Everybody was popping out of their jersey. And
You said earlier that you go to different stadiums. What's the best stadium you've been to? What's your favorite stadium? And don't say Shea. What's your favorite stadium of all time?
I would never say Shea. Shea was a dump. I would go.
Come on, it was the best stadium in the world.
Shea had good vibes, but like the actual stadium was a dump. Citi Field's way better. But my favorite stadium that I've been to thus far has got to be PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Just the backdrop and everything of that stadium one is probably one of the best in all of Major League Baseball. And just like the feel of the stadium, granted it was fairly empty because the Pirates really weren't very good at the time, but everybody in Pittsburgh was so friendly. They had really good food. It's between PNC and Camden Yards. They both had very similar vibes of just like a family baseball atmosphere that was like super friendly. The fans that were there were very into it. And like there was absolutely no complaints on my part.
I'm going to piss him off now. Watch this. So we were talking about that, favorite stadiums and all that stuff like that. So I agree with him with Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
What have I told you my favorite stadium is now?
No, what, Atlanta?
The Chop, brother. I'm not kidding. It's awesome. The Bowery and everything around it, the way they built that thing up, and they're supposed to do it with Tampa, but I don't know how that's going to work out. Yeah. But that stadium, kudos. And I went to Citi Field, man.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it's beautiful, it's brand new, it's everything. It's Queens, the graffiti's right there, and the guy selling tires next door to it. But the Bowery, that Atlanta Stadium was awesome.
My cousin is actually, they're huge Marlins fans from down here, and they hate the Braves. And so they're the same way, though. They try to go to a different stadium at least once a year or whatever. They try to go to a different one. And this last season, they went to Atlanta for one game, and they ended up staying and said, we need to get tickets for tomorrow because there was just so much going on. They were like, dude, this is awesome. Like, yeah, the game was fun or whatever, but the stuff going on outside, inside, it's like a party, man. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah,
I've
been there twice, and it's very, very nice. Like the first time, I think I was an angry Mets fan, and I was like if I gave it a rating, I think I was like, it's a B. And then I went again this past year, and I was like, all right, this place is awesome. Like you said, like the Battery, just being able to have like the restaurants and the drinks and walking around, going into the stadium. It's cheap, which is also really nice too. Like very, very nice stadium. Definitely one of the nicer ones in baseball. That's the nicest thing I'll say about the Braves though today.
Thanks, buddy.
I couldn't agree with you more. The atmosphere there. I went there. I was representing Donovan Solano at that time. I went there to go see him. San Francisco was playing Atlanta, and I got a chance to go out there and see the stadium, and it was awesome. The hotel that's overlooking the Omni that's there, everything about it. And again, no offense, but I'm a New Yorker, and I'll call it the way it is. Yankee Stadium, not the same. Bronx was the Bronx. Period. End of story. I don't care what anybody says. Citi Field, I loved Shea. The way they redid Citi Field, and it's awesome. It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's just not that feel anymore.
Yeah, that's a complaint that some fans have, is that it doesn't have the feel of Shea, and I can totally get that. Like Shea was also like 12 or 13,000 more seats, so there was definitely a lot more people too. That bowl stadium was so loud. To be fair, like outside the 2015 World Series, like there hasn't been many like great memories, and even then we didn't win it. So it's like I think maybe people my age will probably have more of a fond memory of Citi Field than like your guys' age, just because you had Shea for so many years. Where like for me, that was just kind of like the Mike Piazza days, and then we moved down to Citi Field. But yeah, it definitely at times lacks that like raucous atmosphere for sure.
Bro, the place used to shake. And again, Yankee fan, he called me out earlier. I'm not I have to like everybody, Mark. You know that.
Of course.
But
He backed off. All right, yeah.
but there was no. I've been 86. I watched it with my family. I was a huge Dykstra fan, huge David Cohen fan, huge Keith Hernandez fan, Tim Tuffle, Wally Backman. I represent Wally Backman currently right now, and Mark knows that.
Yes.
I loved that atmosphere, the rocking. The place used to shake.
Yeah.
The apple used to go like this when I mean the thing like was jiggling like it was going to fall on somebody. That's how loud it got. I'm telling you, man, there's nothing like it back in the 80s and the 90s.
I can imagine.
Well, he wasn't there.
I wasn't born.
I'm freaking old.
Yeah. I know you had said earlier that you get tired of getting asked the same kind of questions, like about players and who's your favorite this or whatever. Unfortunately, I do have to ask you because of the fact that
Go for it. I don't get tired of that.
I'm curious only because it was hard for me to come up with my top three. So top 3 Mets of all time, in your opinion.
Oh, good question.
So in terms of my favorite, or like just straight up like who's been the best Mets ever? That would
Your
be my
favorite.
only question. Okay, my favorite. So number 1, Mike Piazza. There's no hesitation there. War 31 and caught. Like that was all I wanted to be was Mike Piazza. 2, I'm going to go with, I honestly think I'm going to go Pete Alonso. I love Pete. I think what he's been able to do has been great. And then 3, I'm going to go David Wright. Can't leave him off the list. That's like as much as Piazza's my favorite player ever, like those were my first baseball memories. The majority of my life was David Wright on the New York Mets. So he would definitely crack the top 3.
That's a great top 3. What would your top 3? Do you even know all the Mets?
I got them written down here, sir. So
Do you know the Mets that you didn't Google?
oh yeah, I did. Well, 2 of them were back in the 80s. So I mean, like I told you earlier, I grew up liking Doc Gooden, so he was my one. Just because to me he was the hard throwing that 95 mile an hour person before there really was that we knew about. You know what I mean? Like you had Nolan and you had all them, but you just didn't know that. And as a kid, it was impressive. You know what I mean? So Doc Gooden was my 1. David Wright was my 2. Because every time I think of the Mets, I always think of friggin' David Wright. But when I played third base. So I always everybody asks who's my favorite third baseman besides Chipper Jones, and I used to say it's either Mike Schmidt or David Wright because that's what I grew up watching. So and then Strawberry was 3. But yeah, I didn't even think about Mike freaking Piazza. God, I hated that guy.
Yeah,
but, man, he was a killer, man.
He was
a killer.
He was awesome. I remember like my dad would like call me into the room as a young kid and he'd be like, there's this big moment. Mike Piazza's up. He's going to hit a home run. And it felt like every single big moment that guy came up clutch whenever the Mets needed him. Wish he was around a little bit longer. I wish I got to see him play a little bit more. But in that time, it was like, to me, I was like Mike Piazza. I think I was Mike Piazza for Halloween like 4 times as a kid. So
I want to give my 3.
Go.
Gary Carter.
Good one. Oh, good one.
Gary Carter. Wally Backman.
Yep.
That makes sense.
And my wife's going to love me, but even before we met, and because who she is, she was a Met fan, and I kind of told her to come to the other side or we couldn't get married.
Fair.
But Letty Dykstra, nails.
Ooh,
and I'll tell you why. I played center field. My buddies, if they're watching right now, I hope they are. They should be. If they're not, we're not
friends.
Used to call me Nails when I was a kid because I used to dive for everything and I didn't have the chew, but I definitely had the moves that he had to dive and the instincts and everything that he was as a ball player. By far, my favorite Matt.
Makes sense.
Not Mookie, even though the ball went through Gardner.
That was
or not Bumgarner.
No.
Oh my God.
Buckner.
I said Bumgarner. But those are come on, Gary Carter, and he should rest in peace, man. That guy was
Gary Carter
catcher,
was
and he could
gangster.
hit.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He could hit. How many catchers? Good hitters.
Now?
Come on, Mark. You know what's one of them? You already mentioned
right now. Oh, Mike Piazza,
no.
obviously.
Piazza.
Yeah.
And then the other one was
he
was
had
another
Pudge.
match.
Pudge.
Well, no, Gary was a freaking good defender. He had a good arm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he could hit.
But Pudge was just the same, man.
Yeah.
I was going to say Pudge as well. I mean, I remember him. That guy could throw people out, and he was like 5'5", and he would throw them out for your freaking knees. Benito Santiago was another good freaking catcher that could hit.
Yep.
There's only there's
not very many.
But look at him now. There's not a lot of catchers that hit. I mean, luckily I have 2 on my team. So
we don't have to talk about that.
Fine, sorry.
Well, Mark, we want to thank you so much for coming on the show, man. Well, now we got to you got to return the favor. We got to come on your podcast now.
Of course. Definitely. Thank you guys so much for having me on. Appreciate it. And Phil, Jeff, whenever you need me back on, let me know. I'm happy to come on and talk ball with you guys any day.
Oh no, you could. We
Anytime.
might call you back on here as we get into spring training and see where you're touring at. Maybe we can come live with you and do like some kind of combined thing or something.
Yeah, let me know.
I got to go to spring training. You know that.
I'll be there too. So we'll make it happen.
Maybe I'll bring Jeff over there with me. He would love that so much. I'm not
Let's
sure
do it.
No. He snores.
Oh man,
Mark, thank you so much again, man. We love you, buddy. Thank you very much.
Man.
Best of luck.
Appreciate you.
Merry Christmas to you and your family too.
You too, guys. You too. Merry Christmas.
Many blessings.
You got it. Yeah, that's a good dude. Yeah,
Dude, Mark's the best, dude.
I like him.
And we could have talked all day with him.
I really probably could have. Yeah.
He knows his stuff, man, and he does a lot of good stuff with just baseball in general and quizzes and who he thinks to go. It's not just about Mets with him. It's about everything else.
Yeah, that's what I liked. I liked that he went with the Braves Mets thing right off the throw. So at least I knew where we stood on that, which was fun. But I like the fact
he was
that
being politically correct.
Oh, agreed. I mean, I know if we were off the air, it would have been a whole different conversation.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I thought he was awesome. I just enjoyed talking to him a lot. That was fun.
You know why I wanted to bring Mark on? Just kind of, again, we did radio for so long.
Yep.
And now how things have changed over the years, that radio is not really even relevant anymore. Yeah, everybody has a satellite radio, either Sirius or XM or
podcast,
or podcast or Spotify and Apple Music and all that stuff. Nobody really I don't listen to radio. Do you?
Yeah, with Christmas music on. Yeah.
But you could turn on a Christmas station on Spotify.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's
I mean, what my favorite one is.
What's that? Christmas song?
Yeah.
What's your favorite one?
Do they know it's Christmas time?
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
I love that one. That's a good one.
Yeah. Don't ask me mine.
No, but Mark's a great dude. I can't wait to have him back on because we could literally make a whole show out of that with him. Just his opinions on certain things and how he views, certain teams and certain players and all that stuff. I didn't get a chance to ask him about youth baseball. I know he mentioned he played it, but I wanted to see what his thoughts were. We're gonna next time we got to next time. Actually, Mark, we'll see if he's really paying attention now. Mark, if you're still on watching us, if you didn't just shut us off. All right, I'm done. These guys stink. Answer that question. What do you think about youth baseball? I want to see that in the comments to see if he's still watching us. I'm gonna test him a little bit.
Well, speaking of youth, Andrew McCutcheon signed with the
I saw that
Pirates for 1 year for $5 million.
They don't want to get rid of that guy.
I don't get it. He's like my age.
It's not even about getting rid of him. He's been back and forth with them.
Yeah. But I was surprised when I saw that he came back to him again for another. But again, for $5 million, why wouldn't you? I would go back for $5 million.
I'd go back for about $500,000.
Yeah, I'd go back for $5 at this point in time. But I'm just saying,
it's Christmas time.
It is Christmas time. I need loot, man.
Rent's
due. But yeah, when I saw that, I just thought it was kind of interesting that he did come back. I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought he would have just eventually just said, time to hang it up. But
there's been some interesting signings so far.
Yeah, there really has been. And I was surprised that the deal with Glasnow going to the Dodgers. I'm like, God, dog, man, this team is just, they're trying to build the dream team is what they're doing. And I'm like, I hate to say it, but I mean, I'm not going to compare them to the same guy that I actually liked was Wayne Huizenga when he did the Dolphins and the Marlins. But let's face facts, man. I mean, he bought a World Series. Yeah. We all know it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he stackpiled that team. And then once they won, they were dismantled.
Yeah.
Now, do I think the Dodgers are going to do the same thing? Probably not. They'll probably keep most of them guys there.
Right.
But I mean, let's face facts, man. I mean, Mookie Betts is what, in his 30s?
Yeah.
Freddie Freeman in his late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting
mid 30s, isn't he?
Yeah, you're probably right. You're right around 34 or 35. But yeah, he's right around. But either way,
well, they don't get up to the big leagues anymore until they're like 26, 27 years old, Jeff.
Yeah, but those guys
28?
have been in the league for a long time.
Yeah,
so the wear and tear is on.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's where I'm looking. That. So are they going to buy the World Series? I mean, hell, they haven't even re-signed Clayton and Kershaw, and that's like their golden boy.
Yeah,
he's still out there. So there's a lot of free agents, man.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I know how the market works. So right now, I know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I, again, won't get into too much detail. But a lot of my guys haven't signed yet. And I've gotten offers, but nothing as good as I would like at this point in time. So, so we're still shopping.
Okay.
It's Christmas time. I shop during Christmas time.
People be shopping.
Women be shopping.
Oh man, Mike, did our other guest log in? No, he hasn't came on yet. Huh? All right, he thought he was on, so I'm going to tell him he's not on.
He's not on yet. Okay.
All right, let's see here.
But yeah, no. So I'm shopping just like all the women are shopping out there, and all the men for their families and stuff like that. But you know what I really noticed too? Get off topic, but I had to go to the mall the other day.
Oh, geez.
There's nobody in there.
No. You're talking about the Boynton Mall?
I know. But
that's why there's nobody in there.
Well, it's not that, dude. I don't think anybody's in any mall, man. Go ride by everybody's house. The mall's right in front of the door. It's called Amazon.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, seriously.
I don't know, because
we have more boxes at my house that I know what to do with.
I could tell you Wellington and Boca both have their malls are busy.
They're still Boca's always been a busy mall.
Yeah, and I think it's just because of the stores, and I think people just like to go to those stores. Exactly,
high-end stuff.
Exactly, but I mean, Boynton. I've heard Boynton's up for sale. So
it's going down. Yeah, I think townhouses or something like that.
It's horrible.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that, and I say going down. It's like I think they're gonna demolish it and put something else there. Yeah, it's sad. But I remember all the good times we had at that place. I used to sit right in front of Sbarro's.
So did I, right by Ruby Tuesdays.
Yeah, Ruby Tuesdays was there, and Sbarro's was right there, and our parents used to pick us up right on that, and then sit on that big old stoop that's still there near the wall. Yeah,
God, I haven't been to that mall in 100 years.
Good times.
But I will say, there's less than 100 days of baseball. You got
is that timer up? Because they always put that up somewhere.
Yeah, it popped up the other day that it's less than 100 days.
Yeah. Oh, look, I gotta get my guys jobs first before I start thinking about baseball. So I'm working hard. I had something a surprise. Remember, I was going to mention that last week, and we had such a great show last week that I forgot to say it. So, because of our interview with Coach from the Savannah Bananas, he hooked me up with the Bananas front office, and we have a link for all of our teams in Florida East Coast travel to go to the game down. Remember, he said he was going to invite us down there October 12th, Saturday. So I have a link. So if anybody from our league is watching right now, you're a current member of our league or are attending to be a current member of our league, hit me up. Hit us up on Facebook. Let us know you're watching right now, and let us know that you would like the link, because if we verify that you are really a team, because it's only going for the teams, we will give you that link and you can get the tickets to the Savannah Bananas. And I have another surprise that I can't reveal right this second about that game.
Okay.
But I will at another time.
Do I get to be an umpire for that game?
You did say that you wanted to do. I would pay for that. I would call the guy who owns it.
God.
Say, hey, listen, do me a favor, put him in a banana suit.
Dude, I watched another clip of them, and I'm like, God, dude, I'd be out of breath by the time I was done dancing around. But oh man,
is he on?
I think so.
Do we have Mr. Tom Glavine? Why don't you have to bring him in?
Well, it looks like no. We have somebody else in the green room.
Oh, we have the Predators. Okay,
yeah, let's do them.
Let's get on.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Hey, listen, guys that are listening right now, we were just talking about the league. We have a team that is a part of our league that did our Stand Up to Cancer tournament in Boynton Beach that we did to honor our friend Donnie, and we gave a kid, Jackson, who has leukemia and is fighting through it, a scholarship award, and we did all the right things. We gave away a golf cart to Coach Mike Dolman from the West Boca Panthers.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But we also gave away, we had a tournament that was great. It was very competitive, and one of the very competitive teams in our 10U division that won in our league also won the division. Don't forget, our tournaments in our league is a little different. So not everybody that's in our league is that plays in our tournaments, and vice versa. So this team is in our league, won the 10U championship of the Stand Up to Cancer, the Royal Palm Predators, and Coach Carlos Morales. Where are you? Where are you at, guys? Are you there?
We're here.
Oh my God, they're at the field. I love it. Guys, how you doing?
Good. Hey,
can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Actually, really glad to be here. Thanks for the opportunity to to do this podcast with you guys.
No, it's awesome. And all your kids are right behind you. We see them, right?
Yes, they are here.
Guys, come a little closer. Let's see you. Come a little closer. I know Coach probably put you right there, but we want you a little bit closer. There you are.
There we go.
Guys, give a big wave to all your fans out there. We're going to get you autograph sessions later this week. We have an agent for you. Don't worry.
You know a guy.
I keep plugging myself.
Okay, fine.
No, Coach Morales, I want to congratulate you on an exceptional season, first season with the Florida East Coast Travel League. You guys did awesome. And then to win the entire thing during the Stand Up to Cancer tournament and, you know, against some real tough competition, you guys really came through and it was awesome to watch. So congratulations. Tell us a little bit about how that, you know, how you felt about that tournament and how you felt about the league and everything that you guys have accomplished this year.
Well, first, I mean, that was actually one of the best tournaments that we play in. And I know that even though that we had to go through some challenges with the weather, and you know how preparation change, and then you're ready to do one thing, and then when you get the rain delay or cancel, then you got to start your game plan again.
Right.
But it really gave us an opportunity to grind together. The kids were amazing. I have a really good bunch of parents that they did everything possible to keep the kids there when we needed it, and we came through with the win. So that was really, really good. It was good experience with your league as well. We're really happy to be part of it, and definitely it has given us a different experience in baseball. And that's one of the things that I really wanted to do since I put the team together last year. We've been only playing together now. This is our second spring. I mean, the first year. And actually, I'm really happy to be part of your league because we've been able to meet new people. You have an awesome staff that really, I can see the support that you have behind your back. And we do appreciate what you guys are doing for baseball.
Oh, man.
Thank you. That's awesome.
And I didn't even hire him. Look, Coach Morales, thank you. Really, that means a lot to Jeff and I and our entire team at Florida East Coast Travel because, look, we knew what we were up against. We knew coming into this that, you know, there were other competition out there, and competition's great. Look, I'm a sports guy. You're a sports guy. You're a baseball guy. We love competition. Yeah. I was definitely up for the task. My team was up for the task. Everybody involved. But what's made it great is watching the smiles on these kids' faces, seeing the competition, the different aspects of what we're trying to bring to the table, the fun, the energy, and then, of course, the camaraderie that goes on. And I see how you take care of your kids and how you care about these guys. And that to me was everything that Jeff and I had when we were kids. And I'm watching what you do, and I'm watching a lot of our other coaches a part of our league. And I'm seeing a lot of what we experience because what I didn't see before we started the league was exactly that. And that's why we started the league, because we wanted to give back to kids. We wanted coaches to appreciate what we were doing, see exactly the model that we're trying to build and bring the fun back in baseball, but also make it competitive.
Yes.
You know, so again, I can't thank you enough. I can't thank your kids enough. You know, tell me a little bit also. I saw this. I follow you guys on Facebook, and yesterday, and this is again exactly what I'm talking about. Coach comes to your practice and tried to do something yesterday.
Well,
or
no, he wasn't a coach, actually.
Oh, he wasn't. Okay.
He was somebody that tried to make the team, and I guess I didn't see what I wanted to see in this kid, and he ended up making another team. Mm-hmm. He decided to show up by himself yesterday, and one of the kids that we're trying to bring new, he started to talk to his dad.
Right.
And we all could see that he was doing something fishy, and it was tough for me to keep my composure, but I always think about not making a scene in front of the kids.
No, of course.
So we just let it be.
No, Coach, look, I bring it up because I kind of knew from the way you posted it. And again, you know, I follow the teams and I want to see how they're progressing. But what brings me to this topic is the good that you're doing and the good that you look. Travel baseball is supposed to be for the elite. Little League Baseball was meant for a purpose. I played Little League Baseball, not knocking Little League Baseball. Love Little League Baseball. Support it still to this day, despite the numbers and how it's gone down.
Yeah.
And what I see is lots of parents thinking that every kid needs to play travel baseball. And that's not the case. It's okay not to play travel baseball. It's okay to develop to be able to go to travel baseball. That's fine. But what I felt in your post, without even talking to you, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I bring up this topic because I think that's why baseball is getting such a bad rap these days sometimes because of things that happen like that.
You're right. Yep.
Where it happened to the respect. You grew up in the game. I grew up in the game with coaches that respected each other, parents that respected each other, respected the game, respected everything we're teaching our kids to be respectful to adults, to honor the coaches, to respect the coaches, to listen to the coaches and be mentors. How do we do that if somebody else is doing it differently on the other side and the kids see that?
Yes, for sure.
So I commend you for everything you're doing because you're doing it the right way. And that is the key point to why we respect everything that you're doing as a coach and as an individual, the time that you're putting out. Look, I coached. I know what the time is, right? It's a 24-hour day, 7-day a week job, period, end of story.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't matter what time of the year. And we live in Florida. We play all year round. So it's a 24-hour day dealing with parents and communicating with parents, especially at the age group that you're at, because those kids, although they probably all have phones, right? I bet you each and every one of them has a phone right now, and they're on Instagram watching themselves or Facebook right now watching themselves. But at the end of the day, the parents are where the communication starts. So as a coach, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of detailed stuff. So again, commend to you for everything. You and your assistant coach is sitting right there and everything that you guys do for youth baseball. That's what I love about what we're doing for Florida East Coast Travel League. That's the important stuff for me.
I have a question.
Please. I'm sorry. I'm taking up the whole show.
You're fine. Coach.
You're fine. Just tell me to shut up.
No, you're good. Hardest team you played all season?
Ooh, good question.
The Chief, actually, yes.
They are a good team.
They're good, huh?
South Florida.
South Florida Chiefs. They're awesome. Yeah, they're
now, would the kids agree with that comment? Yeah. All I heard was yeah.
Yeah. What made them a hard team, kids? Tell us what they had and how did you guys feel when you guys had to step your game up to the next level, right?
Yep.
Quick
Come on,
answers.
I know you guys screaming and school and on the playground and everything.
I've heard them
I
on
want
the
to hear
field.
exactly. We want to hear you. How was it playing against a team like the South Florida Chiefs in the league, and what did you see out of some of their players that made you want to get into a zone that we got to beat these guys?
By how they throw the pitching.
Pitching, right?
Yeah.
See, it's
Wow.
all about the pitching.
It is. It is all about pitching.
Yep. So, Coach, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Who's talking out there? I hear him.
George, a little louder.
Wanting to work hard and beat them and never to give up.
Who's that kid? What's his name, Coach?
George.
Judge? That's his name?
Judge?
Aaron?
No. A little younger.
Judge, because of what you just said, buddy, I got a FLETL hat for you, man. That was a great answer coming from a
10-year-old.
A 10-year-old. Great job, buddy. Coach, remind me who that kid is the next time I see you, and I'm going to definitely give him a nice FLETL hat, and all the kids, not only him, but all the kids are going to get a nice FLETL hat and some swag. We're going to get swag. Is that what they call it today?
Swag.
Swag. Yeah. Okay, I got swag.
This is how you know we're old, is we don't know what the new term is.
Well, the coaches know. Ask Coach. What do they say on the
Coach, do you know what GTG means? GTG. I just found this out from my 17-year-old yesterday.
Good to go.
Good to go. And I'm like, why don't you just spell that?
Good to know.
And she's like, well, you're old. I'm like, wow, thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So it took me about 2 years to realize what FYI meant or something.
Go ahead, Coach. What'd you say?
There's a learning process for us as well.
It really is, right? Good Lord.
Carlos, did you have a beeper, Carlos?
Yes, I did actually. Wow.
Did you used to put 143? I love you.
Oh my God!
Do you remember
are
that?
Showing
At
our
my age.
Oh, Coach, I
We're
bet if
thinking of you.
I bet if you turned around, what was that 823?
You remember?
I bet if he turned around and asked those kids, "Do you know what a beeper is?" They have no clue what a beeper is.
Do you know what a beeper is? Okay.
No.
Ask your dads.
Do you know what a VHS tape is?
The beeper in
What did the
What'd
kid
they say?
say, Carlos?
the beeper in the car.
When the door opens.
Close enough.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Again,
man.
Carlos, thank you again for bringing your kids. Where's that trophy, kids, and your rings? Were you able to bring it out?
Show the rings. Hey, show the rings, guys.
Show the rings off, guys.
Boom.
Hey, congratulations. You guys earned that. We can't wait to see you in the spring season. Royal Palm Beach Predators, almost the entire organization has joined so far. We have, Carlos was actually the first person to join the league. I remember the first time I spoke to him. I was actually in the Carolinas when he called me, and we had a great conversation, and he told me what he was intrigued about it with the league and everything else.
Yeah.
And, I hope we pulled off everything that we talked about in the beginning. And, again, it's all about your kids, and we thank you for your support because of you, we've gotten more Royal Palm Beach Predators teams because of your advertising of us and confidence in what we're doing and everything. So we, again, thank you. Can't thank you enough. And great job, kids. Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope Santa brings you everything you want. Wave to all your fans out there. Let them know where you will be. Signings coming up next week, guys. Follow them. Follow on Facebook, the Royal Palm Beach Predators. And if you're looking for a team in a great organization, give Coach Carlos a call.
Yeah.
There
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Man, I no offense to Tom, but I wanted to bring them on last. And I know Tom's having an issue, but we are bringing him on. He's coming.
Yeah, he's ready.
Yeah. Oh, he's ready now?
He's ready.
Awesome. But no, Tom, I'm sorry. I don't apologize when he gets on screen. But
Yeah, say it to his face.
All right. No, but seriously, it's the kids is what it's all about. And I think he'll agree when he gets on.
I can probably guarantee you he will.
Absolutely. And he's a father, right? He's got a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
So how many kids does he have?
Oh, geez. I don't even know.
I'll ask
I want to say 3, but I might be wrong.
I love when I say I'll ask him. Tom Glavine's right here.
Yeah.
Get all giggly.
Well, it's funny because we can segue into to Tom as well. So they actually said a second ago that the hardest game they had to go against was a team that had really good pitching. And the next guy that we have coming on was one hell of a pitcher for not only my team, the Braves, but we had Mark on earlier and his team, the Mets. And he's a Hall of Famer, so we'll bring on Tom Glavine. Hall of Famer, Tom Glavine. How are you, Tom?
Gentlemen, I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm good. I'm sorry. I think I gave you like 3 different links that were all wrong, and it's horrible.
No, it was probably me. I'm sure it was user error. I'm technically challenged, so I'm sure it was me.
Don't even go there because I have him correct all my stuff during the week when I send stuff out. So it's bad. It's bad.
I don't correct it. I perfect it.
Ask him since he. All right.
There you go.
Here's,
Yeah.
How many children do you have, Tom? Was I right or wrong?
You shortchanged me a little. I have 5.
5.
5.
Yes.
How many boys and girls?
So 4 boys, 1 girl. Yeah.
God bless.
So
I bet exactly you wanted it that way too. No offense to girls, but let me tell you something. If you had 5 girls, I definitely think you would probably had a little bit of a less.
No, definitely. But it's so our youngest we actually adopted, and we went into it. Awesome. My wife wanted a little girl. Mm-hmm. And we thought we were getting a little girl. And in fact, the mother had an ultrasound at 7 months, and she was convinced she was having a boy. And then when my wife went to the 8-month ultrasound, she thought she was having a girl. That 8-month ultrasound revealed that it was not a girl, and it was a boy. And I think to this day, we still talk about it. And my wife is convinced that it was probably the right thing, that God gives you what you can handle. And she wasn't quite sure she could handle a baby girl. So I think it worked out all right.
No,
Good.
that's
That worked out
awesome.
good.
Yeah.
Now, your kids played hockey and baseball and everything like that. Did you guys deal with the travel leagues with hockey and baseball up there or no?
You know, we did more with hockey. Hockey in Atlanta, you kind of had to go everywhere. We had maybe surprisingly to some people, probably a lot of people, when we had the Thrashers in Atlanta, youth hockey in Atlanta was booming. We had all kinds of youth hockey programs and things of that nature. And, much like travel ball, baseball, your kids get to the point where when they're playing kind of rec baseball, rec hockey, they're not being challenged. So you're almost forced to have to go to the travel thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to do that in Atlanta, and travel hockey in Atlanta truly is travel hockey. You're traveling a lot. We had a couple teams in Atlanta we could play, but we were going to Nashville, we were going to Huntsville, we were going to Charlotte, we were getting on planes going to Boston and Chicago. So it truly was travel hockey. Baseball, not so much. We were lucky. With travel baseball in Atlanta, all the good tournaments were in Atlanta, so we never really had to go anywhere. So that worked. That worked. Yeah, exactly. And Perfect Game had a huge setup there.
Did you play at Lake Point?
We did,
yeah.
And it was a fantastic place. I'm sorry that it didn't work out the way they wanted it to, but it was great. I think as a travel baseball team, we took one trip a year just to be able to say we did it. But like I said, every good tournament was in Atlanta, so it wasn't bad.
All right. Well, funny this is off my questions, by the way.
Okay.
So Tom, you actually mailed me a baseball that I sent you. You're going back years ago, and you
the guy that got it back. All right.
Yeah, I did get it back. I did get it back.
Knowing the mail these days, who knows?
And I remember telling you on the phone that I wanted to say to Jeff, "Chicks dig the long ball, Tom Glavine." And I remember you laughing and saying, "Okay, I haven't done one of those in a long time, but sure." And then I start thinking in my head the other day, it's missing that HOF on the bottom because you signed that for me before you went to the Hall of Fame, and I mean like a year before he went to the Hall of Fame. And I'm like, you know what? That to me makes it a little more special because that's before he got recognized that he should have been recognized beforehand. So I'm going to lead into my question. Now we have you. Coach Bobby, is he in the Hall of Fame as well? And Maddox, Smoltz,
Chipper.
Is there one pitcher that you're missing that you think from the Braves should be in there?
Oh, you're going to.
I think Billy Wagner needs to get in. I know. I did not play with him in Atlanta. I played with him in New York. So pitcher wise, I think Billy needs to get in, but I'm hoping shortly here I'm going to have a couple more teammates between him and Andrew Jones. I think both those guys need to be in and should be in. So I'm hoping that sooner than later that's going to happen. Hopefully as soon as this year. We'll see.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Andrew Jones should be in the Hall of Fame.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that guy was an animal. I do have and I put this out on Facebook the other day just to see if people had questions. And this one got asked to me through text message 3 different times. What's your thought on the song 98 Braves from Morgan Wallen?
It was one of those when I first heard about it, I was kind of like, well, why is he singing about that team? Right? We didn't win. But I think when you listen to the premise of the song, kind of comparing that 98 Braves team that was really good and by all accounts was going to be a championship team, and then correlating that to the relationship that everybody thought was going to work out and it didn't. I kind of get the correlation. Like I said, it's still. In my mind, I'm like, why didn't you write about the 95 team? That team was really good and we won.
Yeah,
but
thank you. Yeah.
I get what he was doing. The correlation between the team and a relationship and how they both didn't work out the way everybody thought they were going to. I get that. But at the end of the day, it's a good song. It's a catchy song. Another good one by Morgan. So it's hard to argue about it.
Yeah, Coach or Coach.
You can call me Coach. I've done that too. That's okay.
I'm nervous around it, Tom. I'm going to be honest with you, seriously, and I'm going to tell you why. That's what's going to bring me into this. You pitched the way a pitcher's supposed to pitch, and I don't know if Jeff told you what I do for a living. I'm a sports agent. I've been an agent now for 14 years. I didn't get to represent you. I'm bummed about that. But what I will say in this situation is that everything that, as a person who got into the career of baseball and has now worked through the career of baseball from the business side of it, it's different when you're on the fan side and the kid side and understanding it and then getting into the business part of it. What has really admires me about what your career, how it evolved into, is how you pitched, what you did during that time, how you could pinpoint location, how you can, read your opponent, and the staff that you had. Bobby, Bobby was a freaking great coach. And I'm a Yankee fan. I know I'm not supposed to say that again. We've been talking about it all day, but I'm a fan of everybody because of what I do for a living, and I can't show favoritism. But even during that series, I was like, I don't want to face him. I don't want to face him, because you knew how to carve everybody up. This location, that location. I mean, so I'm really honored to be speaking to you right now, because you're everything of what made me love this game and how the game was played back then and how it's not played right now. And how do you feel about that?
No, look, I think it's a struggle, right? It's a struggle for people, especially people our age. And I'm probably a little older than you, but I think if you want to separate it between, kind of the millennials, and everybody before that, I think it's a struggle for everybody before that, right? The millennials have kind of grown up on baseball the way that it is, so it's not a it's not a big deal to them because it is what it is, right? Those of us who grew up in my era or a little bit beyond my era, there's been some big changes. Yeah. And those changes are hard to get used to. They're hard to accept. And I think for a lot of people, it's probably the same sentiment that I have, in the sense that you look at baseball today and really every sport, but I can't speak to the other sports because I don't have the expertise in those sports like I do in baseball, maybe in hockey, but even in hockey, I didn't play it at the NHL level. So it's hard for me to say, I know exactly what I'm talking about. But in baseball, you look at the game today and you see guys are bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, they hit the ball further, they throw the ball harder. But at the end of the day, we're all questioning if the game's being played any better, right? And you say to yourself, well, if these guys are all of this, then why isn't the game better? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what everybody struggles with, right? And
why are they trying to change it? Why are they trying to change it if it's better? Why are we doing all this stuff? I mean, do you agree with that?
No, you're right. I mean, it's funny that if the guys are so much better and the game is better, why are we making rules to make the game better, right? And I think they're making rules to make the game better from a viewership standpoint, right? And I mean, that's what it boils down to. And listen, I am, excuse me, I'm 100% on board with all of the changes they made for the most part.
Okay.
That's interesting. I'm not a guy like when I got done playing, as mentioned, I have 5 kids, right? So when I got done playing, my kids were young. So for me to sit down and watch a 9-inning baseball game on TV just wasn't happening, right? I mean, you're going to watch a couple innings here, a couple innings there. You're going to go feed a kid. You're going to change a diaper. You're going to put somebody to bed. You're going to come back to the game.
That part I understand.
Right? So I'm not watching 9 innings of baseball, right?
Okay. Not because you couldn't, though, because of the distractions, right? Okay.
Right. So now my kids are grown up, and unless I'm working a Braves game, it's hard for me to watch 9 innings of a baseball game because of all the stuff that was going on with the pitching changes and the way the game was being played and all of that, right? So now, at least with the pitch clock, the games are crisper. They go by faster. There's less dead time. And from a viewership standpoint, that's 1,000% better, right? Baseball always struggled with dead time, right?
Yep.
Even in my era, they were always talking about speeding up the game, but at the same time, they were trying to figure out how to create more offense. And it's like, well, if you're going to have 10 to 11 games, you're not going to do it in 2.5 hours. So, something's got to give. And I think that was in an effort to try and make the game more exciting through more runs being scored. Right. But that wasn't really what was going on. I think what was going on was, regardless of the score of the game, it was the dead time that people were getting tired of. And there was just too much time where there wasn't anything going on, right? Like I've always said, I'd rather sit down and watch a 2-1 or a 1-0 game that lasts 2.5 hours, because I know the gravity of each pitch that the pitcher's getting ready to throw and what's going through his mind and the anxiety he has, so I can appreciate that and I can understand that. The average fan is going to say, oh, this is boring. Nothing's happening. Right. Yeah. So I think they've found a way with the pitch clock to at least make low scoring games quicker and more exciting, but more importantly, make high scoring games faster. Right. So I think it's made for better viewership. But back to the broader conversation, right? I'm just not sure, given everybody's prowess with how hard they hit the ball and how hard they throw the ball and all these things, that it's a better product. I'm not, because I watch games and I watch pitchers do things that I scratch my head about, like, why? What are you trying to do there, right? Yeah. I watch guys run the bases, and I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing running the bases? What are you trying to do there, right? So I think that's a lot of the nuances that people who don't play it at that level, who don't understand it at that level, may not see. They're more enamored by, oh man, that ball went 460 feet, or the exit velocity on that ball was whatever, and or that guy just threw that pitch 100 miles an hour. Yeah, but he threw it down the middle and it got hit 460 feet. Exactly. But that's beside the point, right? So, exactly. I just think that a lot of the stuff that we watch now in a game, and that even for me as a broadcaster, that we highlight velocity and exit velocity and all these things. Right. Yeah, they're cool to look at, but they really, at the end of the day, don't necessarily do anything to enhance the game, and that's the struggle, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. One more on that. Yeah. What I think they're trying to do, and tell me if you agree with me, is they're trying to cater to a fan that doesn't like our game to begin with. So if you're trying to cater to the fan that doesn't like our game to begin with, no matter what rule changes you make, at that point in time, that fan's still not watching. So if they're trying to get more viewers, then what are we doing?
Yeah, I think there's some truth in that, right? I mean, but I think that's been that's kind of that's a dilemma for every generational change, right? Yeah. Because I'm sure people who watch my generation and grew up in the generation before me probably could pick apart the way my generation played the game, just like I can pick apart the way this current generation plays the game. So I think there's always some of that, right? Yeah. But I think that at the end of the day, I think this day and age, we're trying to adhere to a fan base that has grown up in the instant gratification era, right? Yes. And listen, I've said it, right? I'm not a huge soccer fan, right? My kids are all soccer fans, and they love watching soccer games. They'll watch, the Premier League games on the weekends. And, I get the excitement that goes with the World Cup. I get that. It's kind of like an Olympic thing, right? Yep. We all kind of buy into that to some extent. Yep. But we went, I took my kids to a couple soccer games in Atlanta, and I could see why people like it, because even though it's a 1-0 or a 2-1 game, that ball is never out of play. They're always playing. The game's always going on, right? Yep. And the millennials like that. That's what they're into. And I think baseball had a dilemma to where they had to kind of try to adhere to that a little bit. And I think they've done a decent job. Like I said, with the pitch clock has really created a faster product, which is good. Mm-hmm. And listen, for me as a broadcaster, hey, if the game, if it's a 9
get out of there quicker
game and out of there in 2.5 hours, I am all for it, baby. Let's go. but it's funny because even like for me as a kid,
I love it.
When I went to a ball game as a kid, I never wanted the game to end. Right? I mean, it's
Agreed.
like, hey, extra innings, let's go. 17 innings, 20 innings. I don't care. I'm at Fenway
baseball, baby.
Let's stay here all night, right?
Yeah,
so I didn't care. But as a player, you start to understand it a little bit. As a broadcaster, even more so.
Yep.
But so I think those things have been pretty good. But yeah, I mean, it's just look at. I don't want to poo-poo on the game because I think the game is good, and I know that. Like I've said, the generation that came before me thought that my generation was soft, just like we think this current generation is soft. You always have that. But I think baseball's done a pretty good job trying to address some of those issues. And look, there are some guys that, are just a ton of fun to watch. The talent level for some guys is off the chart. But I know for me personally, I just, I struggle when I watch a guy who throws 100 miles an hour and doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Or I watch a guy that throws 95 to 98 and, maybe all of a sudden doesn't feel real good and drops down to 95 to 94 and talks about how he can't pitch at that level. I'm like, are you kidding me? I would have died to throw 94 on a bad day. So, it's all relative.
Well, so this is what I was, we had somebody on last week and was talking about the secret to being successful in the league was power as hitting and consistency at pitching. And that's where I kind of like, I've made like I have a 10-year-old that plays travel baseball and he pitches. And the biggest knock on him was that he didn't throw hard. He didn't throw fast. But the problem of it was, and it wasn't a problem, is he threw a lot of friggin' strikes to the point to where they were hitting him, but nobody could get him out. So he comes to a dugout, and me as his coach is telling him, you're not doing anything wrong. You have all these other people in the field. That's their job. Now, I'm going to tell you, sit down and watch this YouTube video. And I played him one of you and one of Greg Maddux. And I said, those guys never hit 95 miles an hour one time, but they could put the ball wherever they wanted it. Right. And hitters hate that. And I was like, there you go. There's Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, and Bobby Cox in the picture. They just popped up. And now you still talk to Greg, I take it, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, quite a bit. Yep.
Oh, dude. Some of the pranks I heard about in that,
well,
that's a conversation for another time.
No, but like to your point, right? So I went through the same thing with my son. My son, left-handed pitcher, my son Peyton, he played at Auburn. He's playing minor league ball for the Nats now. And it was the same thing with him going through high school. He didn't throw hard, but he got people out, right? Mm-hmm. And, awesome. Sooner or later, I think, for him being a lefty, it's a little bit better because, everybody's always going to give a lefty a chance. Yep. But it's the same thing, right? And I used to have arguments with him that, I don't throw hard enough. I'm like, yeah, but you get people out. All you do is get people out. So just keep getting people out, and somebody somewhere is going to appreciate that and give you a chance. And it just so happened that, Butch Thompson had a fondness for that kind of a pitcher at Auburn, and Peyton was able to go there and he pitched and he had some success. He was kind of riddled with injuries, which, kind of obviously hurt things. But, there was enough there that the Nationals were interested in him and signed him to go play minor league ball. And it's been the same thing in minor league ball. He doesn't go out there and light up the radar gun, but he gets people out. He strikes people out. I mean, and it's, and at some point in time, I think baseball is going to get back to that. I really do. Because you can only go with these guys who throw 1,000,000 miles an hour and don't have success for so long. Right. And I hate it because I think it obviously does a disservice to guys who actually go out there and know how to pitch, and there's a whole host of those kids that aren't getting opportunities to play in college or play professionally. And it stinks. I hate it. I hope it comes back around, but you can't fault the kids, right? Like I say it all the time. I don't fault these guys in the big leagues for pitching the way they pitch because that's how they were brought up and that's what they were told. They were told it was all about the radar gun. So, if you think that you're going to go through high school and get into pro ball and go through the minor leagues and have success based on the radar gun, and then all of a sudden when they get to the big leagues, they're going to change, it's not happening, right? Unfortunately, what happens for so many of these guys is that they start to lose their velocity and then they're done because they don't know how to pitch.
That's right.
I hate that part of it, right? Like whenever I talk to kids, I always try to tell them, especially the good ones who pitch, right?
Mhm.
It's like, listen, you throw hard and you're physically better than everybody you're facing, and that's fine. Go with it. But in the meantime, try to learn how to pitch a little bit, because at some point in time, you are not going to be physically better than everybody you're playing. So you need to be able to then out execute them. And if you think you're going to learn that at the highest level, you're not going to learn that at the highest level, right? And that's just the way that it is. So, I mean, I think, look, for me, I would have loved to have thrown harder than I did. In fact, you know, I threw hard, not hard, but I mean, I was 90, 92 when I got to the big leagues, but I was getting my brains bashed in because I didn't throw enough strikes and I didn't know where the ball was going, you know, and I didn't need a pitching coach or anybody else to tell me, you know what, you need to learn how to throw more strikes. You know, I pretty much figured that out on my own. I could see it, you know, I witnessed it. I went through it, you know, and so.
Thanks for the advice, Bob.
I went, you know, my first full year in the big leagues, I lost 17 games. And it was like, okay, well, here's two things. Number one, the Braves thought enough for me to send me out there to lose 17 games. So that was a good thing. There was something there they saw in me. But secondly, to my point, I needed to learn how to throw more strikes, because when I threw strikes, I won. Those were the games that I won. Mm-hmm. When I didn't, I got killed. So, okay, you better learn how to throw more strikes. And, you know, that's all I did that winter when I went home, was learn how to throw my fastball for strikes. And I learned how to throw it at 95% effort level. So where I pitched at 88 to 86, somewhere in there, and I could throw the ball where I wanted it. I could change, you know, I could make it sink. I could do some things. And then when I wanted to go to 90, 92, I could do it, you know, but I might have done it 6 or 8 times a game, maybe, you know, but again, you suggest that to a guy nowadays, like, hey, dude, you throw 100, right? And you really don't know where the ball's going most of the time. How about you back it down to like 97, 96 and learn how to kind of, and people, you know,
get some control.
People will look at you like, get the hell out of here. Don't you dare suggest that to somebody.
Oh,
you know, don't you dare do that. And that's just, you know, that's the nature of the game right now. That's the part of the game I struggle with. Because again, I watch guys
I agree
who have all this stuff and it's like, dude, you don't have any idea where it's going. So what good is your stuff doing you, you know, but you know, whatever.
I'm getting frustrated from my side because I have guys right now, 93 to 95, top in 96s. And it's like, nothing with good numbers and good stuff. Developing other pitchers too, throwing splitters to keep ball low, become ground ball pitchers, whatever, just because they want to, you know, build up their repertoire and portfolio of pitches. And the clubs are, okay.
Yeah. No, but again, you know, it's like I told my son Peyton, I was like, and again, I get he's left-handed, so there's a little bit of leeway there. But we used to have those conversations, you know, and he knew it. Look at these kids are smart. They know it. They know velocity, right? Right. And we used to have those conversations, and I would say to him, I said, okay, listen, here's what you do. Okay, you know how to pitch at, I don't know, at that time, 86 to 84, whatever the case was when he was, you know, junior, senior in high school. I said, you know how to do that, but you also know that you can throw harder than that. Mm-hmm. So what you do is you pitch at 86 to 84, and you pick a handful of times during the course of the game where you've got 2 strikes on the hitter, and you say, you know what, dude, I'm going to air it out. I don't care where it goes. I'm airing it out. Yeah. Just to show those guys that have radar guns and care about the radar guns that you've got another level you can go to. Right. You know, so at least you can check that box and say, oh, velocity. Yeah. But here's where I pitch, you know, and I think that when you have kids like that, that would be my recommendation to try and skirt around it a little bit, is like, hey, you know how to pitch at this level. Okay, here you go. Pick 3 or 4 or 5 times during a game where you got 2 strikes and it doesn't matter, 0-2 count, and you just air it. You know, now don't throw it down the middle with a 0-2 count, but if you miss in or you miss high, air it out. Just let it fly and see what you get, and then go back to pitching.
Well, not only that, but they're going to be thinking off speed anyways.
Well, listen, that's you want to talk about one of the things that I bang my head against the wall, right? When I watch these guys in the big leagues pitch, and we talk about velocity, yet every single time any of these guys gets into a hitter's count, they don't throw fastballs. No, they're throwing sliders. They're throwing breaking balls. They're doing whatever. So I'm like, well, what difference does it make if you throw 100 miles an hour and you're not going to throw it when it's a hitter's count, then what's the point? Because like I guarantee you, I threw more fastballs in hitter's counts in my day at 88 miles an hour than these guys do today.
100%.
And the reason I did it is because I knew I could throw it away from the middle of the plate. So if you want to look fastball and you get a fastball and it's on the outside corner and you want to hit a ground ball to shortstop, go right ahead, my friend. I'm happy for you to do that. But these guys today, because they can't command it and they throw it hard, they also know that it doesn't matter how hard they throw it. If they throw it down the middle, it's going to get hit, and it's going to get hit hard.
That's right.
So they throw the pitch that they know they can most of the time stay out of the middle of the plate when it's a hitter's count, and that's a breaking ball. So it's like, okay, well, if I'm throwing breaking balls when it's a hitter's count, what difference does it make if I throw 100? I'm not using 100.
That's right. Tom, what is the biggest thing that we always were taught? The harder they throw, get barrel, further the ball goes.
Listen, I remember sitting in the dugout in spring training, my first or second big league camp in West Palm Beach, and you want to talk about a murderer's row. I'm sitting there, and I got Hank Aaron, Eddie Matthews, Luke Appling, and somebody else were sitting on the bench talking, right? Yeah. And, they're talking about hitting, and to a man, every one of them said essentially the same thing. They said, listen, I don't care how hard you throw it.
That's right.
If you throw it enough, and I know you're throwing it down the middle, I'm going to hit it. I'm going to hit it. I don't care how hard it is. And,
to hit hard.
Of course. I mean, listen, especially today, velocity doesn't scare hitters today. Nope. These kids all have grown up on velocity, right? And it's, you look and that's, listen, that's the big reason for velocity, right? Is because they're I don't want to say they don't want to, but it doesn't seem to be happening at the level that it did when I was a kid, or going through the minor leagues or even in the big leagues. The teaching these guys how to pitch and change speeds and stay out of the middle of the plate doesn't seem to be happening as much, right? So if you know you're going to miss down the middle, well, what do I need in order to get away with that? I need velocity. Yeah. So that's why, velocity is such a big deal nowadays, and everybody, goes after velocity because it's like, hey, we know eventually or most likely your mistakes are going to be down the middle. So when you do that, you better have some velocity to get away with it. Whereas in my day, it was come hell or high water, stay out of the middle of the plate, and it's not to say that we didn't do it. I mean, we all did it. I mean, you make mistakes, but our philosophy was not, hey, air it out, and if it goes down the middle, I'm going to beat you anyway. Our philosophy was, hey, stay out of the middle at all costs. Yeah. And if it goes there, let's pray to God you get away with it,
Yeah.
You have any more questions?
All right, so I got one more thing, and then I'm going to let you go because I don't want. I know it's 6:30, almost 7 o'clock, in dinner time in places.
After you're done.
So I coached this season a rec team.
Oh Jesus!
Went 16-0. 16-0, won the championship. Thank you very much. But
we've only done 4 shows right now, Tom. He's mentioned that every single.
I'm proud of it. But
no, I love it.
But here's what I wanted to get at is Phil made a comment after on the first show that he said, I was glad that you brought old school baseball back to these kids. So how I managed the game is I used the way we did it in the 90s, especially, is I had the pitcher control the game, right? So I would have him get on the mound and he'd go to pitch, he'd throw a pitch, he'd catch the ball back, and he'd walk the mound for a second and stretch his arm, then go back, and he slowed the game down. And then when I could tell that these kids were like, okay, he's wasting time, and then I'd give him a sign and go, speed, now, go. Now it's rapid fire. And it was I could coach. To me, in the way the rules have set now, you're taking a lot of the coaching out of the game because it's all timed. Like they lowered this thing now to 18 seconds for a pitcher. Could you and Smoltz and Maddox and Avery and Lee Brandt and all those guys actually had been able to pitch consistently under 18 seconds and go 7-8 innings? Or are you talking about getting out in the 5th like I see now?
Great question.
No, I think for us the pitch clock was a non-issue. We all work fast anyway. Right. Yeah. What I don't love about the pitch clock, but I'll admit, I saw less problems than I thought I was going to, is with runners in scoring position. Right. And particularly for young pitchers.
Yep.
I think that the hardest thing one of the hardest things, because it's hard to say the hardest thing, because there are a lot of hard things you have to learn when you're pitching at that level. But one of the hardest things to learn early on as a young pitcher was how to slow the game down. When you start getting into trouble, your brain's going a million miles an hour, and it's really hard to slow your brain down and process information and make good decisions about what you're trying to do. The way we all did that, or the way I did it, you made a pitch. It was not the pitch you wanted to make. I got the ball back. I'd take a walk around the mound. I'd get behind the mound. I'd think about it for a second. I'd get back on the mound. Okay, here we go. What am I trying to do? What pitch do I want to make? How do I want to make it better than the last one? All that's taking time.
Right.
And if in my mind I'm doing that, and all the while I'm worried about a clock bearing down on me, that could have presented some problems, right?
Agreed.
I didn't see that as much this year as I thought I was going to.
I didn't either.
So
it's funny you said that, because I said the same thing. I'm like, I was against the pitch clock, and then once it started going and during the season, I was like, all right, maybe this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But now they're shrinking it down to 18 seconds.
Yeah, with nobody on base, it's really not hard. You should be able to make your pitch, get back on the mound, and let's go. Right now, again, with guys on base, yes, it's a challenge to slow the game down in your mind, but also be aware of a pitch clock and what's going on and that. So, I think for the most part, it would not have been an issue for us, other than those few instances, like I say, where, the crap's really starting to hit the fan and you're trying to figure something out, and you're saying to yourself, you know what, I've tried everything and nothing is working. Now what?
The mental capacity of the game, period.
Yes.
The mental capacity. It was the step out of the box, step off the mound, turn the page, all the slangs that we used in the era. I'm 46. Jeff is going to be 40.
I'll be 45.
45. So, you're 21 again. Tom. But so,
I saw those
but
eyes
it
go
was
up.
all the things that resonated in our heads of what we had to do to take the mental part of the game out of the equation.
Yeah.
Don't get mental.
Listen, in my day, right? More times than not, and probably more so with Maddox than any one of us, we had hitters stepping out to try and slow the game down, to slow us down. Right? Because they saw what we were trying to do. They saw that we're trying to get the ball, let's go.
Right.
And they were trying to, okay, we're going to step out. We're going to call timeout. We're going to try to slow these guys down and disrupt their rhythm a little bit. And then, 10 years later, it's like, oh my God, let's go. Throw a pitch. What are you doing?
Well, I teach my kid. He's 12 years old currently right now, and he just turned 12 a couple of days ago. And I tell him, if you get into that situation, step out of the box. Step out of the box, recompose yourself, think about your approach. And hard to explain that to a 10, 11, and 12-year-old. But if you do have that mindset and you teach that way, you could really mess a pitcher up. Period.
Oh, sure. Listen, you're messing up his timing. You're messing up his rhythm 100%. Listen, it kind of works in every aspect of life, right? If you really think about it. Do you ever do well at anything when you feel rushed?
No.
Usually not, right? So if you're everything, right? If you're on the mound and you're rushed, slow it down. If you're in the batter's box and you feel like that guy's going too fast and you're not ready, step out. Slow it down a little bit to the point where in your mind you don't feel rushed anymore and you feel like you're prepared and ready to go from one pitch to the next.
No question. Yeah. Tom, I wanted to say something. We were talking about this a little bit, and then I know we got to get going, and get you into dinner and with your family But I'm not bagging on the game. I love the game. I've devoted my entire life to this game. And that's not a joke. Jeff and I met on the fields at 8 years old, and we've known each other ever since. And at the same field that I currently am doing a project at right now, to give back. I've made this game so important to me, to my family. I don't pressure my kids. I don't even go out there. And I know I'm not going to sound like the greatest father. I don't let my kid say to me, Dad, let's go play after he just got home from baseball. I don't let that happen.
That's okay.
I want him to go be a kid. I want him to enjoy because I've witnessed all the things that go on now for being on the business side. But I want to make this clear. I love the game. I am all about the game, and I know you are too, and you're an advocate of it, and that's why we're at over an hour and 40 minutes of time, because we could talk the game all night long. But I do think they're trying to fix something that's not broken, and that's the part that upsets me, and hard as an agent to understand how you pitched, and I watched it and I witnessed it, and you carved us up, and I'm like, I don't want to face Glavine anymore. Get him off the freaking mound and let's go. And then at that point in time, all of a sudden now that mindset change, we have to throw harder. We have to do this. We have to do that, where the guys are pitching just the same way you did, but that's overlooked now.
No. And so listen, I 100% echo what you said. Because I'm the same way. I love the game. And when people want to talk about it and they want to talk about the changes and the things that have gone on, you walk a fine line between sounding like a curmudgeonly old guy that's poo-pooing on the game.
That's right.
And being somebody that appreciates the talent that's in the game today and whatever. And listen, I appreciate the talent that's in the game today. But at the same time, that doesn't mean the game was being played better, right? And I think that's the part I struggle with. And I'll push back a little bit on you saying that they're making all these changes to fix the game and the game's not broke. I think the game at its heart is a wonderful game, but the game, the way that was being played, was not a good product. To sit back and watch a game where there's 100 pitching changes, or sit back and watch a game that's the 3-outcome ball game where it's a home run, a walk, or a strikeout.
Right.
That was not a good product. That was not baseball, right? You're going to have high-scoring games. You're going to have low-scoring games. You're going to have games that are ugly. You're going to have some of those things. But I think for me, the night in and night out where there just wasn't a lot of action going on, that to me was a problem. So what I like, again, about the changes that they've made to the game, whether they had to or whether they should have had to or not, I think we can argue about. But the fact of the matter is, the analytical guys have taken over the game, and they've changed the way the game has played, right?
Absolutely.
So they made everybody buy into home runs matter, strikeouts don't.
Right.
They have everybody buying into velocity. So all these things they have people buying into, right? Now, again, you sit back and you watch the way the game was being played. It was kind of a boring product, right? And you go to last year where they made the bases bigger. Did that necessarily lead to more stolen base attempts? I don't know, but the perception is that it did. Yeah, the stolen base was much bigger part of the game last year.
Right.
The no shift made actually hitting a single sexy again last year.
Yes,
absolutely.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody said that.
And small ball.
It brought back some level of small ball. I mean, I saw more bunts and hit and runs last year
than you
than
ever
I've seen in a long time. I saw pitchers last year having to actually worry about a guy on first base and trying to figure out a slide step. And I was like, well, you know what? When I played, the 1987 Cardinals single-handedly made me learn how to slide step because everybody in that lineup could run. Right. So you better do something to try and slow those guys down. So these are all things that a lot of these guys haven't had to deal with. So it's kind of fun to watch them have to deal with it again, right? But I think at the end of the day, all of those subtle little rule changes, whether they needed to be made or not, because again, you say to yourself, well, why did we need to have changed the rules to make this happen? Well, because the people have changed the way the game's being played. So the counteraction was, okay, well, we're going to make some rules changes. Yeah. Again, I don't know how much the bigger base led to stolen bases, but stolen bases were up, right? I do know that the no shift 100% led to more singles and less guys trying to hit the ball deep and do all that stuff. But, so I think from that standpoint, it was just more fun to watch. There was more things going on and listen, some of the other stuff you can argue about having a pitcher have to face 3 guys before you can take them out of a game and all that stuff. I mean, it seems kind of silly, but at the same time, I think it's been pretty significant, right? Again, I didn't play that long ago. It was 10 years ago, right? And
That's right.
maybe a little more than that. I mean, I guess it was about 15 years now. So in my day, we had guys in the bullpen that could get righties and lefties out. You know, I look at some of the best, one of the best bullpens I was a part of. We had Mark Wohlers as our closer, and we had Mike Remlinger was our 8th inning guy, and he was a lefty. No.
Not Rocker.
No, Remlinger was our 8th inning guy, and he was a lefty, and he got righties out better than he got lefties out, right? And to me, it was like, you know, I jokingly used to say with all these pitching changes, I'm like, I missed the rule change that said a lefty can't get a righty out or a righty can't get a lefty out. Like, when did that happen, right? Yep. So I think it's at least forced teams to rethink how they're structuring their bullpens, which is bringing guys back that actually can get guys out on both sides of the plate, not just the specialists, right? So the next step, hopefully, is we actually let these starting pitchers go more than 5 innings.
Thank you.
You know, we actually have less pitching changes on the back end of the game. But again, and my last thing, and I know we all got to go. Again, I don't fault these guys today that are pitching that are going 5 innings because that's what they're being told. They're being told that's all they can do.
They're being trained.
So, and it's like I say it all the time. My generation, you guys watch my generation, and you guys think, you know, we were badasses and we took the ball and we pitched deep into the game and we did all that, and that's true. But the generation before me, Nolan Ryan and Ferguson Jenkins that were going out there 40 times a year and throwing 200 pitches in a game and pitching 350 innings will tell you that we were soft. So I think it's all a product in the generation you're brought up in, and I just don't love the generation that these guys are being brought up in. Don't tell me I can't flip a lineup for the 3rd time. Let me go out and find out if I can, or let me go out there and try to do it. Let me learn how to do it, right? It was like when I got to the big leagues, I had a pitch count in the minor leagues, and then all of a sudden I got to the big leagues, and that pitch count wasn't so prevalent anymore, and I would get to the 6th or 7th inning at 100, 110 pitches, and I was tired, and I had to go back out there. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I don't know how to do this.
Right.
Well, you better learn how to do it.
You ain't kidding.
Tom, I told you how I felt about you earlier. You're great. I loved your career. As talking to you now, just everything is awesome. But I'm going to disagree with you. One more thing. The game was, and I can't believe I'm disagreeing with Tom Glavine. The game was meant to make decisions quick. I need a lefty specialist. I needed this. I needed that. Your son's a lefty. That part of the game has been lost because we're trying to. That's what I get at by that we're trying to break something or fix something that's not broken. If you have a lefty specialist, that's why he was called a lefty specialist, right or wrong?
I don't disagree with that. The problem is that every guy coming out of the bullpen was a specialist. You know, right? Listen, again, when I started doing games as a broadcaster, and I'd get to the 7th inning, and I was like, all right, it's the 8th inning now. We're going into the 9th inning, and we've just used 6 pitchers to get the last 6 outs.
I get it.
What's going on?
I get it.
You know, it's crazy.
But it was awesome to see a guy like Bobby Cox and all these guys know how to manage that. Now, what did it for me was when Joe Girardi looked at a book in the thing that was all statistics, and he said it after he left the Yankees.
Well, listen, I mean, I think that you as a manager, you have to have some numbers in your dugout. You have to know.
Oh, yeah.
But they were going by a playbook. It was not the NFL.
Understand, and that therein lies the problem, because I don't care how analytic guys are. I don't care how many numbers you have to back up what you're telling me.
Yep.
You cannot measure the human element of the game. You cannot measure that guy that's on the mound or that guy in the batter's box. You can't measure their heart. You can't measure their desire. You can't measure their compete. And you can't tell me just because the analytics say you better get this guy out of the game, but your eye test is telling you this guy is throwing the crap out of the ball. Mm-hmm. You know, like again, you go back to the year that Houston won the World Series. and Charlie Morton came in relief and was dominant, and they wanted to take him out of the game. And Brian McCann said, "The hell you are? Are you not watching the way he's throwing the ball?"
I remember that.
And too much of that has been lost, right? And I think that, you know, I'll leave you with this. Like analytics, listen, we had analytics in my day. We just didn't call it analytics.
I want to argue some more,
right?
I want to argue
No,
some more.
no. We can do it again. We can come back on.
I'm telling you, Tom, I'm coming to your house.
I remember sitting on the bench with Bobby my last year in Atlanta, and we were watching batting practice, and analytics had started to come around. That was kind of around 2008, and some of that stuff was starting to come in. I remember him looking at me saying, "Glav," he says, "with all this stuff that's going on now," he said, "when the day comes that I can't look out on that field and tell you who the good players are, it's time for me to go home." And I thought, you know what? You're right. You're damn right. And that's what it's gotten away from. It's you know who the good players are, but now we're trying to have numbers tell us who the good players are. And I understand there are some nuances here and there, right? But for the most part, we know who the good players are. We don't need numbers to back it up. It's like I say all the time, hey, it's great that you can flash exit velocity on the scoreboard, and that looks really sexy. But my eyes told me that ball was hit really hard. I didn't need to see the exit velocity, right?
Exactly.
I don't need spin rate on Clayton Kershaw's curveball to tell me that that's a good curveball. I can see it.
It's filthy. It's filthy. It just dropped, 2 feet in front of the plate, made the guy buckle his knees, and he got him out. That's a great curveball. Thank you very much. I didn't need to see that in analytics.
But I think that's the millennial aspect of it, to where these kids can look at it and go, "Oh yeah, that was cool. Look how hard that ball was hit." Okay, we get it.
Tom, you made me feel like a kid in a candy store. I want you to come back on the show again. Thank you so much for doing this. You literally made my year, and we're almost done with the year. So thank you so much, because talking this way with somebody else and disagreeing with you too, to a certain extent, has really made what this is about for me with Jeff and doing all this stuff, and even my career as an agent, just hearing how the I say old timers. I'm sorry. How the old generation played
so much
the game.
for Tom coming back.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes.
But seriously, I can't thank you enough, Jeff. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
I mean, awesome. Just nothing.
Well, listen, I appreciate the time. I appreciate you guys' passion, and I'll leave you with this. I appreciate the fact that both of you guys are coaching your kids in baseball, and I'll just remind you to cherish that, enjoy it. It goes by fast.
Mm-hmm.
They grow up, and you're going to miss those days, and even those crazy weekends where you got 100 games and you're trying to figure out how you're going to get to them all.
God, yeah.
I promise you, someday you're going to miss that chaos. So enjoy it.
My kid's only been off for a week. He played the whole entire year. I swore I wouldn't do this, but whatever. Tom, thanks again, man.
Tom, Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas. Absolutely. Many blessings to you and your family.
Yeah.
And congratulations on a Hall of Fame career.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right. You guys take care.
Thank
You
you,
too,
buddy.
bud.
Jeff,
All right.
I can't thank you
Mr.
enough.
Tom Glavine.
No, I can't thank you enough.
Why is that?
Because that was going back and forth with him about how and look, he didn't agree with me on everything, and I didn't agree with him on everything.
He likes that, by the way.
I could tell.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted me to go back and forth, which is why I said I'm coming over to his house later.
Yeah.
Because I could have talked baseball with him, and you'd be here next week and arriving for the show.
Yeah.
Straight.
Yeah. He's
Seriously.
a good dude, man.
No, awesome.
Tom's a great guy.
Great call bringing him on. Awesome that you have gained that relationship with him.
Yep.
Thank you, because you really honestly, that was like talking to Derek Jeter.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah,
Seriously.
he's fun, dude. Tom's a great guy.
No, I'm
Love him to death.
loved his career, was a fan of him. I told him the second he got on here. I've said it a million times.
Yes, you have.
I do not believe in you have to throw 100 miles an hour to get guys out. Got that generation, his era, everything that he did as a player, prove that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why I can't go back and look at the video. We have
I agree.
YouTube.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube.
Yeah. We can look
at
at it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
So, listen, see you next time on the Diamond. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks to Tom. Thanks to Mark. Thanks to the Predators. We'll see you next time on the Diamond. Thank you very much, everybody.
See you guys.